All right, good morning, everyone. This meeting is called to order. Mr. Trubman, has anyone signed up for public comment? Thank you very much. We have no cases to reconsider under agenda item 3. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right, under agenda item 4, tax liability cases, we have one case on docket 18.
Good morning. For the record, Hugh Daniel, Special Program Appeals. That is correct, Chairman Daniel. There's one tax liability case on docket 18. The case number is TD-24-057-1124. Commissioner Esparza?
Agree with the recommendation.
Commissioner Trevino?
I agree with staff's recommendation.
And Chairman Daniel?
Agree with staff recommendation.
Thank you. That concludes the sole tax liability case for this docket.
Thank you. Nothing on agenda item 5, nothing on agenda item 6. Under agenda item 7, we have no wage claim cases on docket 18 pulled for additional discussion.
Yes, sir, that's correct. No pulled case for wage claim docket 18. And you should have received the short form dissent list for wage claims docket 18.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining wage claim cases on docket 18.
I second the motion except for those cases which I am dissenting as reflected on wage claim short form dissent list for docket 18.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases on which I'm dissenting is reflected in wage claim short form dissent list for docket 18.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. Let's move then to agenda item 8, consideration of unemployment insurance cases on docket 18. Please proceed when you're ready.
Case number 3419394, Commissioner Trevino.
The AT decision is not supportable. The claimant appeared at the preliminary hearing scheduled in this case, but no testimony was taken at that time. Then, after a 7-month delay, the claimant missed the continuance of the AT1 hearing because he had returned to work and forgot to request time off from his job to participate in the hearing. Due to the delay in scheduling the hearing, and because the claimant had returned to work and was otherwise engaged, the claimant had established good cause for his failure to appear at AT1. Modify the AT, claimant established good cause for his failure to appear at AT1, resubmit.
The AT decision should be affirmed. The claimant testified that he did not attend the AT hearing because he forgot. This does not provide claimant with good cause for missing the hearing. As such, claimant failed to establish he was prevented from attending the hearing due to circumstances beyond his control. We should therefore affirm the AT decision. The claimant did not have good cause for his non-appearance, overpayment, deny waiver.
Good cause, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3432029, Commissioner Esparza.
The employer's appeal should be considered timely. The employer provided evidence that TWC received its appeal within the appeal deadline. The employer received an email confirming the transmission from a TWC email address. As such, we should reverse the AT's decision on timeliness, timely employer appeal, resubmit.
The AT decision is supportable. The employer alleged that they submitted the appeal 2 days after the wage verification notice was sent to them by electronic correspondence. However, the employer's response was submitted through the UI submission portal rather than through one of the commission's approved appeal methods. The portal provides instructions on how to properly file an appeal, provides a link for filing an appeal, and specifically notifies parties that the portal cannot be used to submit appeals. Since the employer was informed that the portal was not an approved appeal method, the employer's appeal was properly dismissed as late. Affirm the AT, late employer's appeal, bill reimbursing employer.
Timely appeal, resubmit.
We will resubmit the case.
Case number 3595938, Commissioner Trevino.
The decision should be affirmed. I agree that the claimant had good cause for missing AT1. Regarding the job separation, the claimant was discharged for her job performance. The employer alleged that the claimant failed to properly file several warranty claims, which caused a financial loss. The claimant provided credible firsthand testimony denying the employer's allegations that she failed to properly handle the warranty claims. And the employer only provided secondhand testimony to support their contention of the claimant's mishandling of the claims. The claimant worked to the best of her ability and had no prior warnings. Therefore, the employer did not meet its burden of showing that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, claimant established good cause for missing AT1, no misconduct, chargeback.
The AT decision should be modified. The claimant stated that she had many years of experience handling warranties, and the employer stated that the claimant's errors resulted in a $200,000 loss for the employer. When assessing the credibility of the parties, the employer's evidence should be given greater weight based on its consistency. Moreover, the claimant had been able to work to the employer's satisfaction until near the end of her employment for reasons unknown. Accordingly, the claimant mismanaged her position of employment, which amounted to misconduct connected with the work. We should therefore modify the AT decision. The claimant had good cause for non-appearance, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Good cause, misconduct, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3641525, Commissioner Esparza.
The AT's finding of misconduct is fully supportable. The employer's policy prohibited threats, threatening behavior, or acts of violence against clients, employees, visitors, guests, or other individuals. The claimant was terminated when she used threatening language to address a coworker. Although the claimant alleged that her statement was not threatening and was intended merely as a question, the claimant's argument is neither credible nor persuasive. The witness who was privy to the conversation explained that the claimant was shaking, visibly upset, and pointing her finger at a coworker when she made the statement. Furthermore, the coworker explained that the claimant's actions caused fear and led to experience extreme mental anguish during the days after the interaction. Since the claimant was aware of the employer's policy, her use of threatening language against her coworker constituted misconduct connected with work. As such, we should affirm the AT decision, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed.
The AT decision is supportable. The claimant was discharged for allegedly making a threat against a coworker. The claimant denied her question as meant as a threat or said in a threatening manner, and the employer provided no firsthand testimony regarding the context or tone of the claimant's language in asking her question, which was not overtly threatening or inappropriate. Additionally, the employer did not even question the claimant as part of their investigation into the matter or inform the claimant of any reason for her discharge. Therefore, the employer has failed to provide sufficient evidence to establish that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Reverse the AT, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
Rehear for employer's firsthand witness testimony.
We have not achieved a majority vote.
We'll change it over here.
We will rehear the case.
Case number 3658750, Commissioner Esparza.
We should reverse the AT decision. The claimant was separated when she was observing breaching the sterile field. Although a nurse purportedly the claimant's supervisor instructed to abstain from continuing with the procedure, the claimant ignored her supervisor's instructions and placed the patient at risk of infection. Since the claimant's action of violating specific instructions directly jeopardized the life or property of another, her actions constituted misconduct connected with the work. As such, we should reverse the AT decision, reimbursing employer not billed.
The AT decision is supportable. The employer discharged the claimant for an inability to meet their performance expectations during her introductory probationary period. Since there was no evidence that the claimant ever showed an ability to meet the employer's performance standards during her short period of employment, her discharge were for reasons other than misconduct connected with the work. Therefore, the employer's account was properly billed for benefits paid to the claimant based on wages from this employer. Affirm the AT, bill reimbursing employer.
Bill the reimbursing employer.
Short form dissent.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3672804, Commissioner Esparza.
We should modify the AT decision. First, I agree that the claim is valid concerning the job separation. The claimant was on final warning for failing to meet performance expectations and maintaining professionalism standards. On the date of the final incident, the claimant's job duties included answering calls from the employer's main line. The claimant was terminated for neglecting the employer's phone line after muting the phone for over 45 minutes. While the claimant stated she forgot to unmute the phone due to other work tasks, the employer testified that she had previously been instructed not to adjust the phone volume to prevent this oversight. Since the claimant violated a specific employer instruction by placing the employer's line on mute, her actions constituted misconduct connected with the work. As such, we should modify the AT decision, valid claim, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, adequate employer response.
The AT decision is supportable. The employer discharged the claimant after she forgot to unmute her phone for about 30 minutes. The claimant had put the phone on mute in order to hear a caller on another phone that she was handling. Since the area she was working in was small and the phone she muted would ring loudly on both the phone lines and through the computer. After the call, the claimant was busy with other job tasks and forgot to unmute the phone, which resulted in incoming calls being redirected to another employer phone line. The claimant muting the phone to hear other calls was not unreasonable under the circumstances, and her simply forgetting to unmute the phone for a relatively brief period should not be considered misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, valid claim, no misconduct, bill reimbursing employer.
Valid claim, misconduct, reimbursing employer not billed, adequate employer response.
Short form dissent. Ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3745336, Commissioner Esparza.
We should modify the AT decision. Claimant stated that his job separation was due to medical concerns related to a hernia. The employer similarly confirmed that the job separation was indeed due to the claimant's medically verifiable illness. Since the commission has long held that a separation due to an MVI does not constitute misconduct, we should modify the AT decision to find the claimant qualified for benefits and the employer's account protected from chargeback. As such, we should modify the AT decision, no misconduct, no chargeback, MVI.
The decision is correct. The employer discharged the claimant after it was reported to them by other employees that he had allegedly was injured while on the job. The employer testified that the claimant was required to see a doctor in order to get clearance to return to work. However, the employer denied hearing the claimant's made any statement that he was injured and provided no evidence that it was aware of an actual injury to the claimant. Therefore, the employer has failed to meet its burden of establishing that the claimant was discharged for misconduct connected with the work. Affirm the AT, no misconduct, chargeback.
Voluntary leaving, no chargeback, adequate employer response.
We have not achieved a majority vote.
I will support the chairman's
Yes, sir.
vote.
We have a majority vote of voluntary leaving, no chargeback, and adequate response.
Short form dissent, ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Case number 3799060, Commissioner Esparza.
We should affirm the AT decision. The claimant was asked to sign a PIP, which explicitly stated that signing simply acknowledged certain items were discussed. It was not an admission of guilt. Despite being informed that failing to sign would result in her discharge, the claimant refused to sign. By choosing not to comply with reasonable employer requests, knowing it would lead to her discharge, the claimant mismanaged her position of employment. Affirm the AT decision, misconduct, no chargeback.
The decision is not supportable. After the claimant filed a harassment complaint about a coworker who followed her into the bathroom and reported that coworkers were falsifying time cards, the employer suspended the claimant for over a week based on reports that she smelled of marijuana and had used profanity towards coworkers. About a week after her suspension, the claimant took and passed a drug test. The employer then brought the claimant back to work and issued her a reprimand, which included allegations that the claimant had yelled and cursed at coworkers. Since the employer had not taken actions in response to the claimant's legitimate complaints, and since the claimant did not agree with the accusations made against her in the reprimand, she refused to sign it and was discharged. She had no prior warnings. Under these circumstances, the claimant's refusal to sign the reprimand does not rise to the level of misconduct connected with the work. Therefore, we should reverse the AT, no misconduct, chargeback. In the alternative, we should rehear this case to further develop the record on whether the claimant's suspension over a week was paid or unpaid. As if it was unpaid, it constitutes separation from employment.
Rehear.
We will rehear the case. That was the last case pulled for additional discussion on docket 18, and you should have received the short form dissent list for UI docket 18.
I move we accept staff recommendations on the remaining UI cases on docket 18.
I second the motion except for those cases which I am dissenting, as reflected on UI short form dissent list for docket 18.
I concur with the chairman's motion, except for the cases which I'm dissenting, as reflected in UI short form dissent list for docket 18.
Motion passes with the exceptions noted. Now that's brings us to the end of agenda items 1 through 8. We'll take a short recess.
Yep.
This is agenda item 9, recertification and certification of PPD CRPs.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mr. Serna, Juan Garcia with the Voc Rehab Division. This morning, we have for your consideration and possible approval, 1 new CRP seeking first-time certification and 4 CRP seeking to continue in the program through recertification. The new CRP is Harris Exodus Project, Inc. in Humble. And the 4 CRP seeking recertification are a Lift for Life Outreach Center in Dallas, Center for Life Resources in Brownwood, Goodwill Industries of East Texas in Tyler, and Marion Moss Enterprises, Inc. in Lubbock. Staff recommends the certification of the new CRP and the recertification of the 4 CRPs as discussed in the discussion paper. With that, I can answer any questions you might have.
Any comments or questions?
None here.
None, Chairman.
Is there a motion?
Chairman, I move that we approve the certification and recertifications of the following community rehabilitation programs for participation in the Purchasing from People with Disabilities program as recommended today by staff. The certification of Harris Exodus Project Incorporated and the recertification of Lift for Life Outreach Center Incorporated, Center for Life Resources, Goodwill Industries of East Texas Incorporated, and Marion Moss Enterprises Incorporated.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded and the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there an executive director's report today?
No, sir, not today.
Is there any other order of business to come before the commission? Mr. Cerner, I am not in charge of Star Awards, but whoever created this, I hope you'll consider for a Star Award at the appropriate time. And I want to write a letter of recommendation for the perpetrator of this. This pen is very reminiscent of the pens they had at the San Benito Bank and Trust in the 1970s, when my parents would let me fill out the deposit slip for the meager check that we were about to put in the bank. It brings back many fond memories because as soon as we were done at the bank, we could go to a La Special Bakery to get some pan dulces. So that's where I'm headed after this, is to get some pastries so I can celebrate this pen. And then when the Star Awards come up, it's definitely worth considering.
I second it.
Second, all right. It's, I mean, look, it's done. All right. Anything else to come before the commission?
None.
None. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Chairman, I move to adjourn.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. I'm looking at the clock and I'm weighing out how much business we conducted. And I think we set a per capita record today for efficiency in a commission meeting. Mr. Turner, thank you for that. It's been moved and seconded to adjourn and we're adjourned.